Hello, welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we are going to discuss the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 18th August 2019. The important issues to be discussed has been presented on the screen, and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's start our today's discussion. The first news appears on page number 14. It says, "What is the United Nations stand on Kashmir? What are United Nations Security Council members urging India and Pakistan to do to resolve the issue?" This particular article not only highlights the United Nations Security Council's recent closed door meeting with respect to the issue of Kashmir, but also resolution number 38, resolution number 39, as well as resolution number 47 of the United Nations Security Council with respect to the India Pakistan question. So, in this article, let us understand what happened behind the closed doors and what is the stand of United Nations Security Council with respect to the India's decision to withdraw special status to Jammu and Kashmir through scrapping Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. Now, new mains examination, this topic gets covered under GS Paper 2 under International Relations with respect to India and its neighborhood relations, bilateral relation, as well as important international institutions with respect to Security Council. Now, after this decision of the Indian government to withdraw special status granted to Kashmir through Article 370, the government of Pakistan wrote to United Nations Security Council with support of China and sought a meeting of United Nations Security Council to discuss the developments in Kashmir. So this 15-member Security Council, including 5 permanent members, held a close consultation meeting on the issue of Kashmir on 16th August 2019. However, both India and Pakistan were kept out of this meeting. Now, Government of India reached out to all the permanent members of Security Council and also most of the 10 non-permanent members of the Security Council in order to ensure that the closed door consultation with UNSC does not lead to formal return of the Jammu and Kashmir issue at the United Nations doorsteps. The closed door consultation at United Nations Security Council did not lead to formalization of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, as the UNSC even did not issue a statement to the press. However, all the members of Security Council agreed that the issue of Kashmir must be resolved bilaterally between India and Pakistan. Now, as per the UN diplomats, countries disagreed on wording of a statement, as some feared that any comment with respect to either India or Pakistan could escalate tensions or would show bias towards either of the country. France, Germany, and United States objected to language that might have broadened the issue beyond the possibility of a future bilateral talks between India and Pakistan. And in this regard, even the United States President Donald Trump has asked Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan to resolve the issue bilaterally. Now, this news with respect to Donald Trump and Pakistani Prime Minister appears on page number 1. Now, Russia's response in this entire matter becomes extremely important, as Russia told to settle the matter bilaterally by invoking Simla Agreement of 1972 as well as through Lahore Declaration of 1999. However, the Russian representative also said that this issue can also be settled as per the UN Charter as well as relevant resolutions of the United Nations Security Council. Now, this stand of Russia goes against the stand of India, as India does not believe in involving any third party, including United Nations or its agencies, to resolve the issue of Kashmir, as according to the Indian government, the entire issue of Kashmir is an internal matter. Now, this stand of India becomes extremely important because, as per the Simla Agreement of 1972, signed by Indira Gandhi and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the then Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan, where as per the agreement, it had left no scope for United Nations or any third party to get involved in the process to resolve any outstanding issues between India and Pakistan. And this part of Simla Agreement was also reiterated in the Lahore Declaration of 1999, signed between the then Prime Minister of India Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee and President of Pakistan Pervez Musharraf. So, Indian government has been invoking Simla Agreement and Lahore Declaration to resist attempts by Pakistan to internationalize the bilateral dispute over Kashmir or raise it at the UN General Assembly or the Security Council. So, as per the Simla Agreement and Lahore Declaration, Government of India does not want to involve UN or any third party to solve the issue of Kashmir between India and Pakistan. However, despite this fact, as mentioned earlier, there were 3 resolutions with respect to Kashmir by United Nations Security Council in which one of the resolution, that is resolution number 47, called for a plebiscite between India and Pakistan. So in this backdrop, let us go through these different resolutions and what these different resolutions had to say with respect to India and Pakistan. Resolution 38, dated 17 January 1948, mentioning India-Pakistan question, called both countries to take immediately all measures within their powers with respect to improving the situation and also to refrain from making any statement or from doing or causing to be done or permitting any acts which might aggravate the situation. Thus, Resolution 38 asked both countries to take immediate steps in order to improve the situation and also to refrain either from making any statements or doing any act which might aggravate the situation. Further, this resolution also asked both the governments of India and Pakistan to both inform as well as consult the Council with respect to any material change in the situation with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Resolution 39 of UNSC, dated 20th January 1948, constituted a three-member United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan committee, and this committee comprised of representatives from United Nations, of which one was to be selected by India, one was to be selected by Pakistan, and the third was to be designated by the two selected person from India and Pakistan. Now, this particular commission was invested with dual powers. First, it had the authority to investigate the facts with respect to Article 34 of the United Nations Charter. Article 34 of the UN Charter said that the Security Council may investigate any dispute or any situation which might lead to international friction or give rise to a dispute in order to determine whether the continuance of the dispute or situation is likely to endanger the maintenance of international peace and security. So basically, this article of UN Charter authorized the Security Council to investigate any dispute or any situation which might lead to international friction or which might endanger the maintenance of international peace and security. And Jammu and Kashmir, as per Resolution 39 of UNSC, came under Article 34 of the UN Charter, under which the Security Council had power to investigate into the entire issue. And the next function was to undertake any mediatory influence or to establish good office in order to solve the concerned dispute. It says that to exercise without interrupting the work of Security Council any mediatory influence likely to smooth away difficulties, to carry out directions given to it by the Security Council, and to report how far the advice and directions of the Security Council have been carried out. So the three-member commission constituted under Resolution 39 of UNSC provided the commission with these two dual functions. Now, because of the disagreements between India and Pakistan, there could not be achieved much success by this particular commission. And this further led to Resolution number 47 of UNSC. Now, Resolution 47 of UNSC is very important with respect to Jammu and Kashmir because it is this resolution which called for a plebiscite. Now, plebiscite refers to a direct vote by the people of a country or a region to decide on various issues such as choice of ruler, choice of a government, or even opt for either independence or annexation by another power or another country. Thus, Resolution 47 of UNSC pertains to plebiscite on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir between Government of India and Pakistan. It mentioned that there was an extreme need to restore peace and order because continuation of the Kashmir dispute was likely to endanger international peace and security, and it held that accession of Jammu and Kashmir between India or Pakistan should be decided through the democratic method of a free and impartial plebiscite. Further, Resolution 47 also reaffirmed Resolution 38 of UNSC and also increased the membership of the Commission, which was established by Resolution 39, from 3 to 5 members. Further, Resolution 47 also instructed the Commission to place its good offices and mediation in the Indian subcontinent both at the disposal of Government of India as well as Government of Pakistan to take necessary measures to restore peace and order and also to hold a plebiscite. So we understand that Resolution 47 also instructed this commission to place its good offices and mediation with respect to restoring peace and order in the region and also to hold a plebiscite. It was in this aspect that the five-member United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan passed a resolution dated 5th January 1949, which provided the mechanism for holding a free and impartial plebiscite in Kashmir. So these are the backdrops with respect to Resolution 38, 39 and 47 of United Nations Security Council. These resolutions also becomes important both from your prelims as well as from your mains perspective. Now, one of the conditions for plebiscite was withdrawal of Pakistan from area under its control in Jammu and Kashmir, and from the perspective of India, to withdraw individuals who were not resident of state. However, both these aspects from the side of Pakistan as well as from the side of India never happened, and instead both sides firmed up their presence in the areas under their control in successive time. Now, despite these conditions, Pakistan agreed for a ceasefire on the behest of United Kingdom, however without withdrawing from the area it had captured during the raids of Kashmir in October 1947. And this holding on to the Indian territory effectively undermined the entire idea of a plebiscite. Now, the article highlights the fact that since Pakistan did not withdraw from the area in Kashmir, it was because of this the government of India decided to take this entire matter of plebiscite to the United Nations. So it is in this backdrop with respect to plebiscite as well as renewed importance of Simla Agreement and Lahore Declaration, whereby it was agreed that the issue of Jammu and Kashmir shall be solved bilaterally, becomes an extremely important perspective with respect to United Nations stand on Kashmir. On this note, let us go through the important aspects of Simla Agreement as well as Lahore Declaration. It says that the Simla Agreement contains a set of guiding principles mutually agreed both by India and Pakistan, which both sides would adhere to. And these principles mainly emphasize on respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, respect for each other's unity, political independence, as well as sovereign equality, and to abjure hostile propaganda. So these were the important aspects emphasized in the Simla Agreement. It further states that the principles and purposes of the Charter of United Nations shall govern the relations between the two countries, that is India and Pakistan. Now both countries will try to settle their differences by peaceful means through bilateral negotiations or by any other peaceful means mutually agreed upon between the two states. It further states that pending the final settlement of any of the problems between the two countries, neither side, that is neither India nor Pakistan, shall unilaterally alter the situation, and both shall prevent the organization, assistance or encouragement of any act detrimental to maintenance of peaceful, harmonious relations between the two countries. Further, it states that they shall always respect each other's national unity, territorial integrity, political independence, and sovereign equality, and both governments will take steps within their power to prevent hostile propaganda directed against each other. So, primarily, these were the important aspects of Simla Agreement. Now, Lahore Declaration was signed between India and Pakistan in the presence of Prime Minister of India, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Muhammad Nawaz Sharif. Now, the Lahore Declaration was signed after the nuclear test conducted by both the countries, that is India and Pakistan. However, after the Lahore Declaration, India was betrayed by Pakistan through Kargil War, and this led to the subsequent exile of the ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif by Pervez Musharraf. So in this backdrop, let us understand the important aspects of Lahore Declaration. It mentions about nuclear dimension, where it stated that the security environment of the two countries adds to their responsibilities to avoid any conflict. It further talks about commitment to the principles and purposes of the Charter of United Nations and universally accepted principles of peaceful coexistence. It further reiterated the determination to implement the Simla Agreement in letter and spirit signed in 1972. It further states that it committed to the objective of universal nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. It also talked about importance of building a mutually agreed confidence building measures on both sides in order to improve the security environment. It also mentioned about resolution of all outstanding issues including Jammu and Kashmir, It says that this was essential for an environment of peace and security. It further refrained from intervention and interference in each other's internal affairs. It also talked about to intensify the composite and integrated dialogue process between India and Pakistan with respect to a positive outcome of the agreed bilateral agenda. It further said that both countries shall take immediate steps to reduce the risk of accidental or unauthorized use of nuclear weapons and also discuss concepts and doctrines with a view to elaborate measures for confidence building. So these are the important aspects of Lahore Declaration. The important point to be noted is with respect to reiteration of Simla Agreement, where it was mentioned that the issue of Kashmir shall be resolved through bilateral negotiations. And it is this aspect of Simla Agreement which India tries to highlight at various international forums, including United Nations as well as United Nations Security Council. So this is an ongoing development. Let's wait for further international developments with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. Now after a discussion, this forms your practice question for mains. It says that highlight the importance of Shimla Agreement and Lahore Declaration signed between India and Pakistan in solving the alleged dispute of Kashmir without involving international organizations including United Nations. So I hope after this discussion you will be able to attempt this particular question for mains. Now the next news also appears on page number 14, and this news pertains to disqualification of Chief Minister of Sikkim on grounds of corruption under Section 81M of Representation of People Act 1951. The news says a crisis of legitimacy. Is PS Gole eligible to hold office as Chief Minister of Sikkim? Now this issue of disqualification in your prelims examination forms a part of Indian polity and governance, and in your mains it gets covered under GS paper 2, specifically under salient features of Representation of People's Act. Now this article highlights about disqualification of the Chief Minister of Sikkim on grounds of corruption under Section 81M of Representation of People Act 1951. The issue of his disqualification as of now is pending in the Supreme Court of India. Now Section 81M of Representation of People Act states that a person convicted of an offence punishable under Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 shall be disqualified to contest election for further period of 6 years since his release. Now in this backdrop, the Chief Minister of Sikkim's sentence came to an end in August 2018. So accordingly, he is barred from contesting polls until 2024 as he is disqualified under Section 81M of Representation of People Act of 1951. So taking note of this situation, the Chief Minister of Sikkim has approached the Election Commission of India under Section 11 for a waiver of disqualification for the remaining period of his disqualification, that since his disqualification pertains till 2024, so in this backdrop he has asked the Election Commission of India to either remove the disqualification or to reduce its duration. So Section 11 of Representation of People Act 1951 empowers the Election Commission of India to remove any disqualification or reduce the duration of the disqualification for reasons to be recorded in writing except offences mentioned under Section 8A of Representation of People Act 1951. Now Section 8A of Representation of People Act provides for disqualification on ground of corrupt practices. Hence, it becomes interesting to see whether the Election Commission of India will invoke its power under Section 11 to either remove the disqualification or reduce its duration with respect to the Chief Minister of Sikkim. Now this matter as of now is pending in Supreme Court. Now the same issue also appeared in the case of Jay Lalita, where the Supreme Court held that non-legislatures must be one when he is appointed is not debarred from obtaining membership of the legislature, or he or she must be one who is qualified to stand for legislature and is not disqualified to do so. So even as per Supreme Court, if a candidate is disqualified, then he cannot contest polls till the mentioned date. And in this case, with respect to Chief Minister of Sikkim, he is disqualified till 2024, as provided under Section 81M of Representation of People Act 1951. Now another interesting aspect highlighted in this article is the defense taken by the Chief Minister of Sikkim. Now the Chief Minister of Sikkim in his defense has argued in the Supreme Court that the Representation of People Third Amendment Act 2002, under which the clause related to disqualification for conviction under Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 was introduced, has been repealed through the Repealing and Amending Act of 2015. Because the Repealing and Amending Act 2015 mentions that the Representation of People Third Amendment Act 2002 has been repealed in whole. However, this argument of the Chief Minister of Sikkim is very unlikely to sustain in the Supreme Court, because after the amendment of 2002, now the clause of disqualification for conviction under Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 is now part of the main law, that is, it's now part of the Representation of People Act 1951 and is no longer part of the Amendment Act. Further, any repeal of the amendment will not lead to annulment of the entire Representation of People Act 1951. Now let's wait for the Supreme Court for its final verdict on this issue. However, in this news, issue with respect to disqualification under Representation of People Act becomes important from your prelims and your mains perspective. The next news appears on page number 1. It says, India-Bhutan Inc. 10 Memorandum of Understandings and vows to strengthen ties. Prime Minister Modi holds talks with Premier Sharing. Now this topic becomes important for your prelims examination because this year one of the agreement with respect to MoU signed by India and one of the country was asked in prelims of 2019. The question was, recently India signed a deal known as Action Plan for Prioritization and Implementation of Cooperation Areas in the Nuclear Field with which of the following countries? So we understand that these type of questions has been asked by UPSC. So first of all, let us go through the MoUs signed between India and Bhutan, and then we'll try to answer this particular question. Now these list of MoUs and agreement exchanged during state visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Bhutan, and this extract has been taken from Ministry of External Affairs. The first MoU signed is with respect to establishment of SATCOM. It says that MoU between ISRO and Department of Information Technology and Telecom of the Royal Government of Bhutan has been signed with respect to establishment of SATCOM network for utilization of South Asia satellite. The next MoU is with respect to Air Accident Investigation Unit signed between Ministry of Information and Commissions of Bhutan and Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau by Ministry of Civil Aviation. So in coming times, this particular bureau, that is Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, becomes important from a prelims perspective as well. And this has been signed with respect to cooperation relating to aircraft accident and incident investigations. Next, it says MoU between National Knowledge Network of India, National Information Center, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and Department of Information Technology and Telecom, that is Drug Research and Education Network on Peering Agreement. Next is with respect to Power Purchase Agreement between PTC India Limited and Drug Green Power Corporation Limited for sale and purchase of Mangdechu power. Now the next MoU is on cooperation in judicial education and mutual exchanges with respect to MoU between National Legal Institute and National Judicial Academy, which is in Bhopal. Further, another MoU is also in the legal field with respect to MoU between Jigme Singye Wanchuk School of Law, Thimphu, and National Law School of India, University, Bangalore in India on enhancing relations between two parties and seeking to develop academic and cultural interchange in the areas of legal education and research. The next MoU is between the Royal University of Bhutan and Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. Further, the MoU between Royal University of Bhutan and Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Another between Royal University of Bhutan and National Institute of Technology, Silchar, and the Royal University of Bhutan and Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. So we see many MoUs signed in the education sector, particularly in the field of technical as well as legal education. Now coming back to this question, as you can see, the Action Plan for Prioritization and Implementation of Cooperation Areas in the Nuclear Field was signed between India and Russia, and this news appeared on 5th October 2018 and asked in your prelims of 2019. Hence, all these
MoU signed between different countries becomes extremely important from our prelims perspective. So in this, the correct answer was B, that is Russia. The next news appears on page number 15. It says, why the new TB drug shows promise. And this new TB drug is Pretomanid, and it has been approved by United States Food and Drug Administration, that is FDA. Now this topic becomes important from your prelims perspective and becomes a part of general science. Now this news highlights that Pretomanid is now only the third new anti-TB drug approved for use by FDA in more than 40 years. This drug was developed and tested in clinical trials by New York-based non-profit organization TB Alliance. So when Pretomanid is used along with two approved drugs, namely bedaquiline and linezolid, then it reduces the duration of treatment for drug-resistant TB from 18 to 24 months to mere 6 to 9 months. Now this three-drug regimen can also vastly improve the treatment success rate as well as potentially decrease the number of deaths due to better adherence to the treatment process. Now further, this article also highlights about the widespread of MDR TB and XDR TB. Now MDR refers to multi-drug resistant TB and XDR refers to extensively drug resistant TB. Now people who do not respond to at least isoniazid as well as rifampicin, which are first line TB drug, are said to have MDR TB, that is multi-drug resistant TB. Now people are said to suffer from extensively drug resistant TB or XDR TB if they are resistant to isoniazid and rifampicin plus any fluoroquinolone, and if they are also resistant to at least one of the three injectable second line drugs, namely amikacin, kanamycin or capreomycin. Now as per World Health Organization's Global Tuberculosis Report of 2018, an estimated 4 lakh people across the world have MDR TB and nearly 37,500 people are suffering from XDR TB. Another important aspect is that India has 24% of MDR TB cases in the world. Now Pretomanid drug along with bedaquiline and linezolid drug is meant for treating adults having XDR TB, that is extensively drug resistant TB. Further, this three-drug regimen is meant only for treating pulmonary TB. Now, in the case of patients suffering from MDR TB, the three-drug regimen containing Pretomanid can be used only in such patients who either cannot tolerate MDR TB treatment or who do not respond to standard MDR TB treatment regimen. So, in this aspect, the safety and efficacy of this drug has been evaluated either alone or as a part of combination therapy in 19 clinical trials conducted in 14 countries. So basically there have been various clinical trials across the world with respect to this new drug, that is Pretomanid. Further, the safety and effectiveness of this new drug, that is Pretomanid, has been studied and established only when used in combination with bedaquiline and linezolid. However, an important aspect to be noted is that this three-drug combination should not be used in patients for whom bedaquiline or linezolid drug is not recommended. So basically, this three-drug combination having Pretomanid should not be given to such patients for whom either bedaquiline or linezolid has not been recommended. Now to identify the drug resistance at an early age, all TB patients are being screened for detection of resistance under Universal Drug Susceptible Testing, that is UDST. Further, the Government of India has also come up with the Nikshay Poshan Yojana, which provides for a monthly allowance of Rs 500 to all TB notified TB patients in order to provide nutritional support as well as medical aid in the treatment of TB. So, in this aspect, the Nikshay Poshan Yojana becomes important from your prelims perspective. Further, revised guidelines with respect to programmatic management of drug-resistant TB are also being implemented since December 2017. And recently, India has also signed a loan agreement worth $400 million with the World Bank in order to help treat and eliminate tuberculosis from India. It further mentions that this World Bank supported program will cover 9 states in the country in order to achieve the target of eliminating TB by 2025. And in this aspect, you must know about the National Strategic Plan for TB elimination by 2025. And this plan of 2017 to 2025 was developed in 2017 and included various interventions through multi-stakeholder engagement to reduce the burden of TB. So these are the important steps undertaken by the government of India with respect to reduction of TB. Thus, this news becomes extremely important from your prelims as well as mains perspective. Now, these two news appears on page number 15. This is about combating fossil fuels, where it has mentioned about the use of algae-based biofuels. Whereas this particular news mentions about brighter than the sun, and it says that when seen in the light of gamma rays, the moon would appear brighter than the sun, as imaged by NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. So, in this particular news, you must know about the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope and also certain basics about gamma ray. So, in this news analysis, let's go through these two important news in brief, whereas the detailed information has been provided in your PDF. Now, talking about algae based biofuel, it says that why do we need to focus on algae based biofuel? The first and foremost reason is that it's an alternative energy option because of global warming and also because of depleting fossil fuels. It further mentions that these microalgae are photosynthetic microorganisms that are being touted as the next big sustainable source of clean energy. It further highlights that these microalgae are found in abundance in marine ecosystems and provide food for higher animal forms. So effectively, the algae-based biofuel provides us an alternative source of biofuel and also helps us to combat the depleting fossil fuels. It further highlights that India is a growing market for microalgae and there is scope for both small scale as well as large scale algal farming here. It further highlights that algae is the third generation biofuel and can be an ideal solution for India's impending fuel crisis, as it says that India's long coastal region and tropical climate can facilitate the cultivation of algae in India in mass scale. So it's also talking about cultivation of algae across the coastal regions in India. So on this note, let's go through the advantage of this algae-based biofuel. It says that the microalgal biodiesel does not compete with food crops for land availability. And according to some scientists, this microalgal biofuel is grown on wasteland and it does not eat into agricultural land like jatropha and ethanol, which are the two other sources of biofuel. So two aspects highlighted here is that it does not compete with food crops and second, it does not eat into agricultural land like jatropha and ethanol. Further, these fuel are highly clean fuel and emissions are minimal. So it also reduces pollution standards or pollution level. It further highlights that these algae can be grown on brackish or polluted water. So it doesn't require freshwater resources either. So another advantage is that it will not consume extreme amount of freshwater resources. Another significant aspect highlighted is that microalgae consume carbon dioxide and emit oxygen as they grow, and thus this entire process will reduce the total amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Further, it says that jatropha can be harvested only every 6 months, whereas these microalgae can be harvested on a daily basis. And lastly, these microalgae can grow in places away from forest, and this will also minimize the damages caused to the ecology as well as food chain systems. So these can be said to be some of the advantages of growing microalgae for fuel. Now talking about the next news, it says that according to some scientists, moon will appear brighter than the sun when seen in the light of gamma rays as imagined by NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. This telescope detected gamma rays from moon which appeared blurred with a prominent glow at its center. Further, this observation on gamma rays by scientists also highlights the fact that astronauts traveling on moon will require protection from these cosmic rays which produces high energy gamma radiation. So the astronauts needs to be fully protected from these gamma radiations. Now gamma rays are part of electromagnetic spectrum having short wavelengths and are highly energetic. And they are produced by the hottest and most energetic objects in the universe, such as neutron stars and pulsars, supernova explosions, and regions around black holes. On Earth, gamma waves are generated by nuclear explosions as well as radioactive decay. Now, with respect to Fermi Gamma Ray Telescope, it states that it's a powerful space observatory of NASA launched in 2008, and Fermi bore the name Gamma Ray Large Area Space Telescope or GLAST. Now, after 5 years of its operation in 2013, Fermi Gamma Ray Telescope entered an extended phase of its mission for a deeper study of the high energy cosmos. Now, this Fermi Gamma Ray Telescope has two instruments. First, the Large Area Telescope, that is LAT, and Gamma Ray Burst Monitor, that is GBM. The Large Area Telescope is Fermi's primary instrument, and the Gamma Ray Burst Monitor is the complementary instrument of Fermi Gamma Ray Telescope. And Fermi enables scientists to answer persistent questions across a broad range of topics, including supermassive black hole system, pulsars, as well as the origin of cosmic rays, and also searches for signals of new physics. So these are some of the important aspects highlighted about NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Telescope. For rest of the details, you can go through the PDF for both these news analysis. Now, after our discussion, these forms your practice question for the day. What you're going to do is to take a pause of 5 seconds. Now, the first question says, United Nations Security Council Resolutions 38, 39 and 47 pertains to. Options are ISIS, situation in Cyprus, Jammu and Kashmir, and situation in Middle East. Here the correct answer is C, that is Jammu and Kashmir. Second question. Consider the following statements. A person disqualified to contest elections on ground of corruption may not be allowed to contest polls for a period of 6 years. Yes, this statement is correct. Second, Election Commission has power to reduce the term of disqualification under Representation of People Act 1951. Yes, this statement is also correct. So in this, the correct answer is C, that is both 1 and 2. Question number 3. India and Bhutan recently signed MoUs or agreements on which of the following? Options are: first, investigation of air accident; second, power purchase agreement; third, judicial education; and fourth, establishing nuclear power plant. In this, fourth option is the incorrect option, and the first 3 options are correct. So here the correct answer is B, that is 1, 2 and 3 only. Now question number 4, it says the drug Pretomanid, biraquiline and linezolid can be associated with which of the following diseases? Options are tuberculosis, viral infections, cancer treatment and none of the above. In this, the correct answer is A, that is tuberculosis. With this, we come to an end to discussion of today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.